Hello, Be Awesome at Facility Management followers and listeners. It's Joshua Peach again. Sorry we're late for this monumental episode 10 in person live at Assabet Valley Regional Vocational Technical High School. That's a mouthful. Thank you to them for allowing us to join in a conference room to record this. Sorry we're a few minutes late. Mr. Paul Anastasi, the co-host, is fanning the our guests here today, which is really exciting. This is, if you saw what we have here, it's a big ball of wires all over the place, and our camera wasn't working and why we're late. But here we are, Mr. Paul, in person, not asking you which house you're at. This is nice, face to face. So how are you, my friend?
Doing well today here at Assabet Valley, just coming from a great lunch on this St. Patty's Day, corned beef and cabbage, produced by the students, served by the students. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, regional schools that have culinary arts, it's a hidden gem. If they're open to the public, you get a great meal, and you get to have these kids be able to do what it is that they love to do, and serve you some phenomenal food. And yeah, no better way to start off St. Patrick's Day than with some friends and some corned beef. So we're going to get started. I'm going to let Paul kind of drive this today because he's got a bunch of his friends here that he wants to talk to. But we were so excited with Ken, who's also in the room. He's hiding in the back. He might chime in at some point.
He's our studio audience.
Yeah, studio audience. Keep us on open and honest here. But we were so into the conversation, and we got off because we went long. That we didn't talk about recognizing someone that provides excellence in education and facilities. This is actually the gentleman, I believe, is retired, but his name is Bill Vokes, and he gave 50 years as the director of maintenance and grounds at Seton Hall University in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and he was actually named the 2018 Maintenance Hero. And he had more than a dozen nominations from colleagues who praised his dedication to the institution. So 50 years is a lot longer time than most. I think the longest I've heard recently was 42 years, but to give that much of your life to serving the students in your school is pretty phenomenal. So, Mr. Vokes, congratulations and thank you for your service and all that you did and your recognition for your award. So, Paul, we got a table full here. I mean, I'm just gonna let you go ahead and take this and give some proper introductions and get right into some good old fashioned hot mic question asking.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and we have quite a group. We have a pack of facilities directors here with us today, as you can see around the room. I'll go around and see if I can keep this moving without making people dizzy out there. Here we have Joe Zahner. He's the director of facilities at King Philip Regional School, and he's 3 years on the job. We have such a vast group of people here, and it's great to see the younger facilities directors in the group. Next, we have Sean McGee, facilities director in Dover Sherborne Regional Schools. I see a regional thread here in our group. And next, we have Gretchen Licata. Did I say that right?
Licata, yeah.
Licata. And she's with Pioneer Valley Regional Schools as a facilities director less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Less than a year. And then we have our seasoned veteran, as we'll call him.
Seasoned.
That's the nice way of putting it. Ed Cenedella, facilities director at Hampden and Wilbraham Regional Schools. And he's been 24 years in the business. Also a past president, as am I, and Ken Wirtz from the Mass Facilities Administrators Association. Past board member, and now has retired from the board, and I'm thinking that soon be retired from the public school.
Yes, correct.
And that I'm hoping that's
In
public.
September.
I'm hoping that's public because everyone knows it now.
That is public.
If it wasn't,
I sent my letter.
If it wasn't, you just wrote it up.
If not,
Hey.
I just put in your papers.
You just did. Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know about Fast
If your phone rings, don't answer it. Don't answer it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go around the room and ask people. I'm going to just kind of put this out in the middle, and I can get.
Yeah, I can do my
I
side.
can
You
get
can.
Sean
Yeah.
On this, I can get between Sean and Joe.
We promise not to move it too much.
Yeah. So I'd like to go around and just ask. The big question that we've been asking everybody here is, how did you get here? How did you get to public work? What did you do before you got here, and what roads led you down down this path. I've met these 4 people in all different ways. I just met Joe today here. Sean and I worked together in Dover. I actually was on the hiring committee, bringing Sean into Dover Sherborne schools. I met Gretchen down at the Cape at our fall conference last year. And Ed Cenedella, I met, what do we think it was, 06?
I think it was 06.
Oh, 07?
Yeah.
At the NESDEC conference, where Kenny and I had a table trying to recruit new members. And the big thing I remember Ed saying, holding our information pamphlet in his hand, was, this is a no-brainer. I've been looking for you guys. I've been asking, where have you been? And now that I found you, this is really a no-brainer. And he went on from that meeting to work his way up to being president of the organization, which a lot of us have had part in doing, and hopefully we have future presidents here in the room. So I'm going to start with Joe. Tell us, how did you get here, Joe? What did you do before you became a famous facilities director?
So I was born and raised in Wrentham. I went to King Philip Regional Schools, went through the district. I took a lovely extra 5th year to graduate, which was fine. It fit my personality at the time well.
As my co-host.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew we had stuff in common, and it wasn't fixing snowblowers.
Well,
Yeah.
and so the funny part was, during that time is where I learned the most from some excellent teachers at King Philip, who are still working there today, who have been a huge, mentor in my life. I then was turning wrenches at Norfolk Power, fixing Kubota tractors, snow blowers. I always had a passion for using tools, for just being able to problem solve, think outside the box, and ways to fix mechanical problems. And so while performing that job, was delivering equipment to King Philip High School, and saw the groundskeepers in the garage and thought, geez, this looks like kind of a good job doing what you guys do. And I'd love to know how to get into a position like that. And at the time, there was a custodian position open. So I applied for it and presented at the table to Mr. Paul Schaefer, who's made his rounds in these communities, that I was able to fix machinery. And I think Paul knew that as a custodian, it may not be day one fixing machinery, but ultimately spent 7 years on the grounds crew to be grounds director. And that was a great part of my experience at King Philip. And then when the need for a facilities director came out and the job posting came out, I was nervous at first and just, didn't really know if I wanted a position like that, or if I'd even be thought of to take a job without having a bachelor in engineering. And but anyways, went for it, and they picked me. And so I questioned that decision, but I keep I keep working hard, and just working with professionals like MFAA and all of you folks in this room that can help younger people in the industry like myself, and just build wealth and knowledge and rely on each other. And so that's my story.
And we've said this many times, Ed and Kenny and I, that these monthly meetings, these quarterly sessions, these half-day trainings, that the Cape Conference for 3 days, if nothing else, it's a great therapy session. No one's working on an island. No one should be alone. If you put something out on our website, questioning, looking for an RFI template or something like that, someone's done it before. We serve 150 communities in Massachusetts, and you put something out there, you're going to get 6, 7, 8, depending on the subject, replies, and someone's done it. So you're not alone. That's the thing that we like to tell our newer members. And come to a meeting, get to know your peers, and collectively, there's thousands of years of information here that needs to come out from us seasoned veterans to the newer force that's coming on. So,
Paul, don't forget, we also give great references for people that are applying for jobs. We just heard one today where someone was calling another member for a reference, and that member said, "Run for your life."
Right. So we all work with different contractors and people that are out there, and we've worked with a lot of the same people. So we'll have references for contractors, for vendors, for new hires, and we'll keep it confidential and talk. You'll get the real deal from any of the other facilities members that you talk to.
Yeah, funny story with Joe is we met in October, November at the MFAA conference for the first time, and Bobby B, who we've brought up in the conversations multiple times, Rentham, which is where King Philip is, there's a baseball field named after him. And I said, geez, Bob, they must have thought you died or something, because I thought they only named fields after people that were already gone. And anyway, we had a couple laughs and talked about Bobby B and some other things, and afterwards, Joe reached out to me to talk about a little bit about what he's got going on with his facilities over there and how I might be able to help. And so I had his cell phone number, and I had a back-to-back call. I had him, and then I had a telemarketer call, and I stored his phone number in. And so after our first episode, when I talked about the first or second episode talking about the snowblower being broken, I get this text message, and it's just got the phone number. It says, hey, I'll fix your snowblower for you if you want. I'm like, did I put an ad out? What did I do? I said, who is this? He says, it's Joe. And I'm like, oh, thank God you did that, because I put his phone number as a telemarketer. I was like, man, I'm glad I got this thing corrected. And I said, no dice on fixing the snowblower. I like sitting in the warm, cozy fireside chats that I get to have. So, but no, I think you get a lot from these younger guys and girls that are coming in here, that this is just great, and learning how to leverage and pull off, and great. I mean, what a story.
Yeah.
Starts is the takeaway on this is that you want to do it, right? You want to be a part of something that's really amazing, and it's not like a push, and it's not like corporate America saying, hey, come work over here for a signing bonus. I really love the community I live in, and I want to serve a greater purpose for the people that I do, and for a young professional like Joe to do it. Hats off for stepping up, and for impromptu. We were just having lunch. I said,
Right.
Joe,
hey,
come join us, and he sits next to the big seat.
when you're done with your corned beef.
Yeah. Come on over.
and talk with us
Get
for an
on camera.
Yeah.
By the way, it's live.
Yeah.
I got to add one thing is Bob B gave me this bracelet.
He's still wearing it. Oh,
Yeah.
Bob's listening to
It's-
us live right now, so I'm sure he's like,
It says "Live Your Dash." So
Yeah.
everybody that watches this, there's a poem out there called "The Dash." You got to Google it and read it. It's a really great poem. Thanks, Bob, for the bracelet.
Bogey has lived the dash his entire life.
We need to have Bob on as
Oh yeah,
one
he
of
just
our
keeps
guests.
coming up.
So we're going to move on now to Sean McGee, and I, as I said earlier, I was part of the hiring committee in Dover Sherborne, working there as a consultant, and that was 6 months ago. You started
6 months, yeah.
And at full disclosure, I passed by Sean's resume the first time it came through.
I wasn't good enough.
The way we looked at it, there was no public experience. He was at a big box store at BJ's working as a facilities manager. And, we're stuck in that tunnel vision of looking for those people that work in public or move their way up like Joe did. So it was like we pushed it aside, and then we got a phone call from another community where they had hired a BJ's facilities manager.
My former manager
Yeah, as
Oh,
a
wow.
matter of
went
fact.
to Mansfield.
And
Oh, no kidding.
that business director talked to the business director in Dover and said it was an easy transition for him.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job. He was there 3 years at the time, was it?
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and so I quickly pulled Sean's resume out of the file,
The trash.
circular file,
Yeah.
and I said, "How did that get
Full
there?"
disclosure.
I said, "How did that get there?" I said, "We need to interview this guy." So Sean, tell us.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's at home listening to Stuart Smiley videos, saying, "Gosh darn it, I am good enough."
Yeah.
Poor
I was just like, yeah, I figured, corporate guy, they don't want me.
Yeah.
All right, so my journey, I was in construction out of high school. Went into carpentry, and just loved it. Was in carpentry construction for 20 years, doing all kinds of different things. And at one point, I was working with a friend of mine, and we were doing repairs for Stop and Shop at all the different Stop and Shops. We went in and fixed all the broken things, and we saw the gentleman that hired us, the facility manager, and he was just on his phone. He's like, "Yeah, go fix this, go do that, whatever." And we're like, that's not hard. We could do that. We're smarter than him. Why aren't we doing that job? Well, within a year, the two of us had gotten jobs as facility managers for Stop and Shop. Because that gentleman that we were making fun of actually helped get us in.
Mhm.
So hung up the tool belt on a Friday, literally hung my tool belt up in my shed, and the following Monday went to work at Stop and Shop corporate, having to wear a tie. Now I've been in construction 20 years. I owned 4 ties for funerals and weddings,
Mhm.
and now all of a sudden I have to wear a tie every day in a corporate office, So worked for Stop and Shop in facilities. That was kind of my initiation, college, into the facilities world from that end, working for a corporation, learning how to act appropriately in a corporation environment, not be a contractor,
Mhm.
And then they outsourced us. So 4 years, and then they outsourced everybody to an outside company. So that ended, and I spent a year at another company while I applied at BJ's because I knew people that worked there, and they were trying to help get me in. And I heard great things about it. It was a good environment and everything. So I got a job there, and I was there for the last 10 years. And we talked about my former manager
Mhm.
left, went to work for Mansfield Schools, and proceeded for 3 years to tell me how great it was, and kept sending me jobs. And I was on the fence about it. Public was scary, and I was in a good place. At BJ's. I've been there 10 years. I was a senior guy, and but the stress of it and travel was starting to get on me. My kids, are all in school, and I wasn't available. And finally, he was able to sell me on it. So when the position for Dover came up, I had some connections to the town, and sorry, put that away. And
You got two of them. So if you don't answer the first one, they're going to call the second one. Yeah.
We'll go. And yeah, I applied for it, and I didn't hear back, and I was I wasn't crushed, but I was disappointed. Like, why wouldn't you pick me, right?
I can't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used my network, okay, at the time, which was my former manager. I called him at Mansfield, and he was like, "What happened?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Can you help me out?" And he said, "Yeah, we'll put the feelers out there, whatever." And I guess that second call got them to pull my resume out of the file.
Yeah.
File.
Yeah. And yeah. Now, what was fun was the interview. Going on an interview, it's a whole thing, and I prepped for it crazy. I researched the town. I was looking at the buildings. I did virtual tours of the buildings, all the stuff that, I always think you do for an interview, trying to know as much about it before you walk in. I had questions for them, and I didn't realize, but Paul told me later that I had 3 pages of questions.
Mhm.
And he said that was one of the things that kind of sealed the deal for me, was because he related a story, one of his stories about interviews that he had when he was younger.
Yeah. Yeah. My interviews in Newton went the same way. I interviewed in front of, it was a table of 12 people. Newton just loved to have committees. They formed committees to have a committee. And I made it through the first round of interviews. They called me back for the second, and on the way out of the first, when they called me back, they said, "If we call you back, it's your chance to open up to us and ask us questions." And so when I did get called for the second interview, I too had a list 3 pages long. And to this day, I'm very close friends with my former supervisor in Newton. We still go out and have a beer now and then. And he said, "I've never seen anyone come to an interview with 3 pages of questions for us." He said, "That's what did it." He says, if you were that vested and that interested to come up with 3 pages of questions for us, he said that sealed the deal. So, and that was 18 years previous.
Mhm.
I had never seen it again. until you came in for the interview.
And during the interview, when they asked, do you have any questions? And I opened up my binder and I went to my page. I saw Paul, they're sitting there and they're making little notes, probably writing funny things about me to each other, And I saw him write something and then he put his pen down and he put the folder down. And that was, and I'm like, oh God, I just blew it. That's what I thought in the interview. Like, he's done. When you see someone, they wrapped it up in their mind. They're done.
If it was only 2 pages, or God forbid you went over and did 4 pages of notes, it probably would have been back in the
Somewhere
file.
in
But
there.
3
But
pages.
3 pages was perfect.
So note to self: if Paul's involved in anything, make sure it's 3 pages,
3 pages.
not
That's
2,
right.
not 4,
Yeah.
3.
'Cause I do have my quirks. So tell us a little bit about the difference between working for the big box and then coming to public. What have
Yeah.
you seen in your 6 months here?
Yeah, my whole 6 months in public life. Everybody was worried about how I would transition, because going from corporate to public, can you make that adjustment? Can you deal with that change? They were worried about the portfolio. Like, I went from 34 sites in 4 states going down to 5 buildings. And one of the things that I said was that what drove me the most crazy in the retail world about having so many sites and far away is that I couldn't know what was going on in each building all the time. I had to rely on other people telling me the conditions because I couldn't get to them on a regular basis. I 4 times a year was the best I could do with the amount of sites and the amount of work. So I was so looking forward to only having 5 buildings, because I said, I'm going to get to know every doorknob, every screw in these buildings. The dream of a building facility person, you want to know everything about it. So I was looking forward to that, where I could focus on all the details that I've never been able to before. So that was what I was looking forward to. And the big difference, I didn't have to travel away from home. I was coming to the same place every day, the predictability, and the difference between budgeting. Budgeting is still budgeting. You plan out your budget based on history and what your needs will be with your equipment, all that. Same kind of things. The big adjustment is hiring vendors. It's a different process. It's not as easy. You have to go through a little bit more hoops, but there is a process, and then the planning and getting approval for capital is a lot bigger, more involved. Bidding is a lot more involved than it was in retail, but still it's a process. And just being able to learn the process, and I'm going to tie it in with this group, MFAA, has been unbelievable to have to help understand that with my questions. And I got very lucky being hired, having Paul, and kudos to Paul, but just my luck that Paul was there already to guide me, to be my mentor, because otherwise they would have hired me and I would have been on my own trying to figure this out,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I would have done that, I mean, I do, I know what I would do, my process, but
Right.
to have Paul there to guide me and, not step in the traps, the easy traps, of public and facilities and custodians and, it's been great. So the big changes really, to me, I think the differences were, the working with the contractors and the budgeting, really the biggest changes. Otherwise, it's still buildings, maintenance, repairs.
Yeah, I think, I just think from the little that I've gotten to know you, you've figured out the why and what's important to it. But I'd love to have you after the commencement next year, and you see your first group of kids graduate, because we've talked about it 100 times. Is when you're having a bad day, Kenny said last week, go down to the kindergarten class and go see those kids smiling and realize that's what you do it for. And then if you don't realize it the first time you see those seniors, cross the stage, this is an exploratory question I don't know the answer for. And the big box, like I walk into BJ's or Costco, and there's lights and heat and air conditioning. Most importantly, you can't let the milk go bad and let something burn out, and cause a loss, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to love to have you, after you're there for a year and talk to you and learn that difference. Because what I'm hearing is, everything in corporate has to move really fast. And that's because there's a dollar associated to it.
Yep. If
you don't act fast and all of the cold goods go bad, or if you don't act fast and it causes a closure for the day, what the cost of that is, it's huge. And that's how people look at things. Where schools, it's like, well, let's take our time. There's a lot more moving pieces. A lot more people need to get involved. You need to get buy-in and sign off. Sometimes you have to get your stakeholders, i.e. taxpayers, involved, and then it takes a while. So I'm gonna love to see next year, one, how much hair you have left on your head, and then two, no, I was gonna say you look great for 22, but no, I think it's exciting, and I think just the experience that you have, as well as having past coworker, manager that's already kind of laid the groundwork that, hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
I love seeing private sector people come. You see public sector people going to private sector, but you very rarely see private sector coming into public sector. When you do, it's just something magical.
Yeah, my one big question at BJ's when I walk in is, what do you do with all those birds? How do you get them out of there?
You don't want to know.
There's so many. It's like, how do you control that?
Which one are you going to? The one I go to doesn't have any birds.
All the time.
It
There's little sparrows.
It depends on the time of year and where it is. But
if there's a garage associated, a lot of them have the auto mechanic garage, and the delivery doors are up.
Well, the receiving, receiving is the biggest culprit because they'll leave the door open. But they used to employ a hunter.
Oh
wow!
At night.
Interesting.
Would go in and remove them.
So if I put in my application, would they throw it in the file?
Yeah, it's not. It's frowned on now. I believe. I don't think they do that. I haven't heard of it in a while, but they do netting now. So They do safe trapping.
I always wondered how, because we were always battling vermin in the schools just because of the nature of the beast, the cafeterias and the kids eating in the classrooms and things like that. There's always food around.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to Gretchen now. Gretchen, you've been working at this job less than a year. And how did you get to there? How did you come to be the facilities director?
By accident. I worked in facilities for a long time, but I worked at a private school. So I worked at North Mount Herman, which is a private high school, boarding school, right in the town. I live in Northfield. I worked there for 17 years. I started there as a custodian and kind of wanted to get my hands in everything. So worked my way up and learned as much as I could. I wasn't really, after 17 years, I ended up being the operational services manager. It was, I was in charge of custodians, also doing event setups and that sort of thing. Wasn't really looking for a job. Never thought I have a 5-minute commute, and I was like, I'm not going to beat that no matter where I go. The public school, Pioneer Valley, where I work at now, is directly across the street. And when they posted this, one of the teachers that I'm friends with said, you should apply. And I was like, I don't know, but I did and did the interview, and it happened really fast. So here I am.
So same question to you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the private sector that you worked in and then coming over to the public side?
It's very different. Just the structure of, at a private school, you have trustees who put a lot of money and time into making the school run. It's been really fascinating for me to see how the public school works with the school committee and, the town officials and everybody working together and having people that, that are workers making the decisions of what needs to be done is really nice compared to, just somebody with deep pockets being like, I need to see my name on a new building.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful out there. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
I spent a couple of years as a sales director for independent private schools, and it really is. They look forward to homecoming weekends, and where, you know, graduates would come, and it would, in a lot of cases, in some of these schools, they would fight for who was going to get the name on the building, and, you know, how much they were going to give. And you don't get that in public schools,
No.
you know, it's, you know, but that's these people, you look at the list of graduates at some of these schools, you know, and Fortune 100 CEOs and everything, and they attribute a lot of it to their education. So, you know, hey, pipes broke, build a new building.
Right. And in the public sector, you have to meet your demise before you get your name. on the
Yeah,
building.
absolutely. Oh God, yeah.
So that's great. Eddie, we'll move on to the seasoned veteran, as I said, 24 years. I don't know if the rumors are true, but I think that Ken Wirtz told me that you started scooping ice cream at Friendly's out there in Wilbraham. I'm not sure. but
Almost true.
Let's
Almost
hear it
true.
from you.
That is not Kenny's filling you with baloney.
Uh,
I was actually born and brought up in the town next here, Hudson, Mass. And I ended up after high school. I wanted to be an aircraft mechanic, A&P guy for years. I was fascinated with aircraft. Found out upon graduation of high school that I could not pass the physical. My eyesight was not good enough to get an FAA A&P license at the time. Now it's changed, of course. So I didn't know what to do. Had an uncle that had just gotten out of the Navy, and he was trained in refrigeration and HVAC. So he said, it's a good trade. You'll get yourself $5 an hour. And in 72, $5 an hour was a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
So I went to Northeast Tech in Boston, graduated. Had the fortune of having someone that was inside at Digital Equipment Corporation, which at the time was just booming. They were building buildings all over the world, everywhere, and especially in the Northeast, in the facilities department. So I ended up as an HVAC mechanic for them. And it turned out to be one of my mentors, the plant engineer at the Maynard plant. His name was Jim Gracie. He's passed on now. But I saw what he did. I saw how he operated. I saw what he knew. And I really wanted to expand into that all fields of facilities, not just making sure you're warm and cooled off when you're supposed to be. I wanted to know about power distribution. I wanted to know about building envelope. I really had a desire to do that. So he took me under his wing, and I ended up becoming someone who was very enamored with that. I ended up going to Friendly Ice Cream as as what?
A taster.
No, I wasn't a taster. No, as what they called an area mechanic. And I had a division. I had 50 restaurants that I was responsible for all the mechanics, the parking lot, the envelope, water, everything. So I did enjoy that. I was there for a number of years. And then in the late 80s, I thought I could do this all myself and make a lot of money. So I started my own company. I had a mechanical contracting firm for 10 years. At that point, I again, as Sean was saying, my kids were growing up, and I was working 14, 16, 18-hour days. So I ended up looking for something different, and had an offer. Somebody wanted to buy my company. So I said, you know what? I'm going to look for something else and do this, sell the company. And at the time, Hampden Wilbraham was looking, and also Wilbraham Munson Academy, which was right down the street at the same time. So I actually applied for both. Ended up interviewing at Hampden Wilbraham, and I came back for that second interview, like you did, and the business manager wanted me. The superintendent, who was at the time looking for another job elsewhere, to go bigger, wonderful lady, but she just thought, again, I didn't have school experience. I had no public experience.
File 'em.
So
Put it in the file.
yeah,
Put it in the file.
I got filed.
Give them Stewart.
So they hired someone else. That person took the job and then resigned a month later. So the business manager said, okay, let's give this guy a shot. And they gave me a call, and here I am 24 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I started late. I was 45 years old when I got into this end of it, but I already had a lot of the other building technology.
Yeah.
So
I gave one of the best 34-minute presentations I've ever given in my life today. Just want to put that out there. And
I should have recorded it.
My
and played it during the
my
podcast.
brain was completely on point with statistics and factual information.
No doubt.
So I think I'm going to continue this, and if I am, I'm just mind blown. You were in your trailer for construction of the school building when the tornado tore through Springfield to Sturbridge, right?
That is correct.
Look at you.
Good night, everybody.
Very good. Good.
Drop the mic.
We tell that. No, that's a scary story. I mean, the
It is
tornado
good.
came within eyesight of hitting you.
It did.
So let's step back.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know, was it 2012? 2011.
Yeah.
There was a tornado, something that's never happened before. And if you do a search on Google, you search Massachusetts tornado, Springfield, you'll see the path of destruction. This is like 76 miles of a tornado that touched down and never touched back up until it hit Sturbridge. And it destroyed everything in its path. And your school was right in that path, and you were in like
where we were building it. Yes.
Yeah.
I was not in the trailer.
okay.
I was in close proximity, but I was not in the trailer. But that came through, and somebody said, it looks awful dark back there,
Yep.
over there, from coming from the west. And it was something I had really, the colors I had never seen before.
Yep.
The colors of the sky. It was like, wow, that's going to be one nasty storm. And then it just came, and it fortunately skirted the construction of the new building. It knocked a lot of stuff around. It tipped the trailers over. That's why I wasn't in it. It did. It flipped
Yeah.
both trailers over, which were in pretty close proximity to the school we were building. But a lot of the lighter building materials, the foam insulation, square, we were picking those out of the woods forever. Just chunks of insulation that was blown all over the place. But it was pretty scary.
That path is still very visible.
It is.
in a lot of areas. I mean, some places it's grown back, and obviously rebuilding of homes and things. But it's. I mean, you look at that, and
You can still see twisted
when you
treetops.
when
Oh,
you
yeah,
go down,
yeah,
we'll get on 84. Get on 84 off the Mass Pike heading to Connecticut, and just
You can
after
see it.
you get to where the Sturbridge Host Hotel is, you can see the line that crosses 84, and it took out that little motel on the
Yeah.
other side.
Yeah.
And this is 11 years later.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
looks like it just happened.
Wasn't the deadliest tornado in American history in Massachusetts way back, I thought.
1953.
Really?
The
Yeah.
Twister in Worcester.
What?
And
It sounds like a Friday night wrestling yes, the VFW. Come on over to the Twister.
No,
and
that's
Worcester,
true. It was the
really?
year I was born. It was right before I was born in July of 53. I believe it was May or June of 53.
And for those listening outside of the New England area, that would be Twister in
Twister.
Worcester.
Twist, yeah. Twister in
Not
Worcester.
Twister and Worcester.
The Twister in
Where we
Twister
park
and
the
Worcester.
car. Because I know there might be one or two people outside of the New England area
Yep.
that listen. So what comes next, Ed? I hear, retirement word. I mean, now that I've announced it to the world that you're
Yeah,
going to
now that everybody
retire,
knows.
I mean, I know you're a gun enthusiast that likes to shoot, and you're a car guy. You like turning the wrench. You're gonna, rebuild the Corvette and make special handguns. Reload.
I am gonna. I'm an avid trap shooter. I love shooting trap as often as I can. It's been kind of tough this winter because weather's been pretty tough. I enjoy working on I have a 73 Barracuda, so I'm working on my Barracuda. But I plan on actually following in your footsteps by doing some mentoring, and I am mentoring right now Gretchen. So as soon as I retire, I plan on doing more days up there at Pioneer Valley and just helping her get through that transition and the rest of them get through the transition. But I will make myself available for anybody that's interested in kind of doing the same thing.
That's great, because if you were just going to go out and shoot skeet and work on cars, I was going to hope you could teach me how to retire. But where you're going
No.
right back, jumping right back.
You've
in.
actually taught me how to not retire.
Yeah,
So
this
how to
is a
fail in
business-
retirement.
This is a business model, and,
Yeah.
and we're thinking of this for our future. Like,
That's right.
I can't wait to
And
retire
as
so
I-
I can earn
Yeah,
more
And
money.
I tell the young ones here, don't wish your life away.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So I love this, first of all, by the way. I think going back to Bobby B, he put a timestamp on retirement. He retired in 2010, and it was because of his age. And he's 80 now, and he could still run circles around just about anybody as far as
In that
attitude
field,
and energy and in sales. And I love that, at some point you got to retire.
Yeah.
At some point in your world, you've got to retire, but you're not even out yet, and you're already figuring out how to stay in or get back in. Why?
Okay.
Like I'm not saying it in an offensive
I-
way. I'm excited about it. I love it. I think it's great, but I want to understand it more. I mean, I know why you can't say no. You're just
I'm really glad you asked that, because the decision to retire was really a struggle, because I love this. I love doing what I do. I love the ability to look at some things, bounce things off of people, be in the MFAA. The MFAA, by the way, has been an organization that has brought me to where I am. I mean, I don't think I would be in the career position that I'm in right now without the MFAA behind me. And it's been, I want to thank you and Kenny for being where you were in Sturbridge that day,
Yep.
because that really made a change. There was nobody to lean on at the time that I knew of. But anyway, to answer your question, I love it. And I figured this way here, if I retire, I can still have a few days to go here, a few days to go there, maybe do a trap shoot over here, maybe go to a drag race over here, but still come back and do the things that I love to do.
That's great. And now that we're on the MFAA topic, I look to the newer members. Why are you here at this meeting? How did you get here at this meeting? I think one of the things we struggle with and have been struggling with for years is getting our members over the threshold into the meetings. It's easy for everybody to sit back and say, I can't get out. I can't get away. My boss, needs me too much. And we've beat the band for years, Kenny and I, out there with the business managers, the superintendents, the principals, anyone we can get in here saying, you need to support your facilities person and getting them out to our meetings. So why are you guys here? Why are you at these meetings?
I was really lucky in that it was part of the job offer. The superintendent in my school district, she's interim. She was pretty new. She knew that I didn't have a lot of the trades background, and so she said, we really want to hire you, but we want you to be a member of MFAA, and we're going to hire you a mentor. And she's like, and you're going to have professional development every year. And I was like, that sounds fantastic, because I just want to learn as much as I can. So I was at a point at North Vermont Hermann where I wasn't, there wasn't much more I could learn and do there. I put my foot in everything. So to have the opportunity to learn and get a bunch of new knowledge from people that were doing it was
Not to make it sound mushy, but that just warms my heart.
Yeah.
Kenny's too. 'Cause
Well, unfortunately, they stuck her with me.
Well, yeah, I don't think Ed knew what he was getting into.
No,
because when I started there wasn't. I was going into this position that was vacant. I'm not sure how long it was vacant. And then the facilities director before me was only there a year. The one before that was only there a couple years. So we're starting from scratch.
Yeah, there was zero continuity. So,
Yeah.
and she is a great mentee, I will tell you. She is great to work with, and she's a quick learner, which is good.
So is this your first mentorship for both of you? Like, is this the first time you're mentoring someone, and the first time you're either and by the way, I think a mentor should be a mentee. I think there's a way I mentor a young man every Thursday, which I'm late for. Sorry, buddy. I'll be there in a little bit.
On my way.
I'm on my way. We already rescheduled for 3, but I was asked to mentor him, and it's going on a year this month. And what I found after about 3 sessions was he mentors me just about as much as I mentor him, because I learn so much from him because of the age difference, because of cultural, because of all different things. So mentor mentee, is this both your first experience?
Yes.
Oh God, you got a lot to live up to now, because it's like such a synergy with both of you guys. So this isn't your first mentorship, but is this the first time you've had a
Yeah,
Yeah.
like an official mentorship. I mean, I've always, the reason I'm in this group is that I in my past jobs, remember, joined organizations like this and saw value in it.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, you can't know everything. You can't just find it out on your own. You have to tap into experience of other people. Over the years, I've always felt like I've mentored the people that I've worked with and for me. When you hire younger guys to work for you, I had my own construction company for a little while, and everyone I worked with, I always wanted to teach what I knew to people, right? That's part of why we do this. We do this because we love it. You learn and you share, right? That's what drives us. Have something wrong with us that we actually want to do facility maintenance, but that sharing, if you know something, you want to teach it to somebody. And then what's great is when someone has something to teach you, it's like, oh, wow, that's great. I didn't know that. That's what drives it. And I couldn't wait. I tried to join the organization before I was even allowed to, I was even eligible, because I was in PRISM, not prison, but PRISM, which is
How much time did you do?
Yeah, that always raised eyebrows.
Tell us about that point in time in your life.
If you say it quick in the Boston accent, I'm going to prison. But that organization, Matt Jocks from Mansfield was almost the president of that. He was on the board, very involved. And I rode his coattails through that because it was great, because I met so many people, learned so much from it. And when I came here, that was the first thing I wanted to do, was get into this group, because I knew the value of, getting with other people, hearing what they're going through, sharing what I know. And I'm the new guy, so I'm just sponging everything. I'm taking it all from all of you, but at some point I'll be able to give some back, that's what it's all about,
Yeah. I always talk about how Google has changed the world. And when I sit in these sessions and these summits, by the way, today's event at Assabet, there were just as many or more people in attendance for a half-day summit than you would have had at your annual conference not too long ago.
Yeah.
You're building up a following where it's not just show up once. It's people are showing up quarterly, monthly, everything.
Well, they heard you were going to be.
Yeah. I was going to be on point. I was going to have every fact and figure in my brain accurate. But if you sit in a professional development in class or session about being a facility professional education, and you hear the stories and experiences, and you try Googling to find it on the internet, you ain't going to find it. This is real life experience. This is real life situations. Yeah, a lot of them are the same across the board, but there's really, the only way you're really going to get better is through your peers and through networking and through mentorship programs. I love to see this mentorship stuff. Sorry, this wasn't here.
Yeah.
This
Right.
wasn't here 5 years ago.
Right.
No one even thought of it. To say that a superintendent or business manager proactively said, we see something in you, we want to hire you, we want to give you the tools to succeed, we're going to give you a mentor. Sorry, it's Fast Eddie, and we're going to make you be part of the MFAA. I mean, we didn't. This is what you big guys have been searching for forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is this year.
Yeah.
This honestly has started.
It's
We've had
just started to
conversations
blossom,
about
yeah.
this
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
but we finally broken through something with someone.
Yeah.
Whether it's the superintendents, the school committees, I don't know who, the business managers, someone, that we're finally getting to that point that we're starting to catch up.
Going back a little bit, I think the impetus that moved this along is the MSBA. Because the MSBA really had as a desire to have people know how to maintain the buildings that they're spending millions and millions of dollars on. And I think they now have a bit of a buy-in on it. So before, this piece, people didn't even talk to facility directors.
Wish you had asked. It sounds like one of the talks that Kenny and I do.
Yeah.
So Joe, you've heard the superintendent made it part of her agreement to get her to be a member. You heard Sean say that I threatened to put his application back in the file if he didn't become a member.
And buy him lunch every
What-
once.
Oh, yes, and he buys me lunch once a week when I'm there. How did you get here to be a member?
So it was it was the first fall. I was the facilities manager at King Philip, 2019, and Larry Azer, our director of finance and operations, signed me up for MFAA, and I didn't even know it. And so I was getting all these emails, and I'm saying I'm going to keep getting all these mass facilities emails that I don't even read anymore because they're coming in 6 and 7 a day. Because every forum post I had coming to my email. So I finally figured out how to log in and channel that so that I could put it in the cloud so I could find that stuff when I wanted to find that stuff, but not always carry it with me. I went to a conference, and I think it was the DCU Center, and there was a talk that Kenny did with a woman from DLS, but I also think she had ties to Sharon. Was her name Deb?
Deb, it could have been Deb Anderson. It wasn't Mary.
No, it wasn't Mary. Anyways, it opened my eyes to, let's bring them into our buildings to get some help on creating, better safety structures for our custodians, better training for our custodians, better training for our maintenance techs and groundskeepers. And I was, new to all that. And so it was that first trade show that Barbara and I, the accounts payable lady, and we went to the DCU Center. I met Kenny for the first time, saw you do a talk for the first time, and then was like, wow, these people are, not very far away, and they're really smart when you just sit back and listen. So this is a great opportunity. And so once I realized that in person, it was a no-brainer just to stay involved, and listen to. Anytime there's an event like this, it makes so much sense to come. There's always something to learn from you well-tenured folks that have done this.
The old guys. You
For-
can say it.
for a few
We're
years.
okay with that. Yeah.
We're used to it.
Yeah.
Seasoned.
You
Seasoned
old
veterans,
guys.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just very appreciative of everything you guys have done and know and are willing to share. So that's that.
Well, that's great. Josh, I know we're closing in on our time shortly. There was one thing I wanted to to put out there. It might be a surprise because usually Josh and I discuss these things before we go on live and talk about them, but I haven't. We've said many times, I'm going to give his swag away, and I think is what I'm going to do. We've said many times how the facilities managers wear many hats. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I usually have a hat on. So maybe in episode 20 or so, we could put out to the viewers out there that are watching on YouTube, because the audio viewers can't do it. How many hats has Paul worn in the 20 episodes? How many different hats does he want? Because we always say the facilities managers wear a different hat.
Wow. I don't know.
And with that, we'll give them a T-shirt, a tumbler.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll tell you what. Geez, you just. I'm trying to think how many hats you wore. I remember you had the deer hat. I'm just trying to think. So it's going to make people have to watch at least a minute of every. Yeah, how many different hats?
That's right.
All right. So So I'll tell you what. Let's think. Episode 20. So we're 10 away. So it's probably about. We're probably 8 to 10 weeks out from that. So it's going to be summertime. So I will have 20 special edition Be Awesome hats. We'll call them the Paul hat. And the first 20 people that give the right answer, I don't think the answer is going to be 20. I think you're going to throw all sorts of button hooks now that you're doing this. But yeah, we'll have.
Or I have already.
Yeah,
I've
we'll
been setting
have.
the
So I'll
seat.
come up with something. But if we're going to do the 20th episode, it's got to be 20 hats. The first 20 people that guess it right, we'll give them a all expense paid hat to ship to anywhere in the continental United States. The international shipping is tough, but yeah, that's a good one. When you started saying that, I'm like, where the heck is he going with this?
There's
And
always
the
a
camera
surprise.
hasn't been on
You
him,
never know.
and I'm sitting here going, I remember he had a hat with a deer because I just made some ridiculous comment, but you've got a hat. You've got a strong hat game. So yeah, all right, good. That's it.
You're always giving stuff away.
Yeah,
what do you say? If you like us, give us 5 stars.
Yeah, give
and
us
I'll send
5
it.
stars and a rating and review.
And if you
then
really like us, buy us beer because
Yeah,
we like
yeah,
local
and we're gonna come up with
IPAs. Oh no, that's not part.
we'll come up. We'll come up with a hat contest for episode 20. But I will get in the workshop and get Santa and the elves to put together a special edition Paul Anastasi podcast. That's a great idea. So I love it when people put me on the spot that costs me money. So this is good. But no, it's a good
We
idea.
want the
Yeah, we gotta
natural
have fun.
reaction,
Yeah, we gotta
right?
have
That's
some
what we're
fun.
after, hot
Yeah,
mic.
we will put the MFAA logo on it if we can get approval. So
Yeah.
hot mic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. So where are we at? We think we covered this. I
Yeah,
think we got it pretty
covered
well
it all.
covered. We got a good
I want to
crew.
make
We
sure
got-
you had a second
yeah,
shout out.
questions. Yeah, I got to do a second shout out because, like we said, we forgot. We didn't forget. We just got away from ourselves. But first of all, thank you guys for making the time. You made the time to come out here to get your professional development. You had a great lunch, and you decided to stick around and sit with us and share with the world. You know what a day in the life of being an operations professional, education's like. But more importantly, why you're here, what got you here, and what keeps you here, and then what keeps you here after you can go and skeet, shoot, and drag race, and want to come right back in again. And it's not for the money, and it's not for the recognition, it's for the love. And I think that's just fantastic. Learned a lot here today. So hope to have you guys back. Definitely going to have you guys back after your first commencement in public education. So Joe, we'll have you back for a snowblower episode. Maybe we'll see if you can show me how to fix my own snowblower. Not that I want to, but
Sounds great.
appreciate you guys. So in true fashion, the second story, which has actually happened on January 26th of this year in Grants Pass, Oregon, 2 Grants Pass school district maintenance workers are recognized as heroes after they helped prevent what could have been a deadly situation. It actually happened 2 weeks prior. Brian Higerman and Kevin Bishop's workday took a drastic turn as they noticed black smoke while driving in town. As Brian says, we were driving past. I looked back and saw some smoke coming out of the upper window of a house. I said, "Hey, man, I think this house is on fire," said Higerman. "Yeah, the house was on fire," added Bishop. The workers say they pulled over right away and went up to the home to see if help was needed, and it was. They were approaching the house, looked up at the window where the smoke was coming out and saw movement in the window. The mom that we found out was trying to get her daughter out the window and was just going to drop her, said Bishop. Little did Higerman and Bishop know that the mother, her 3-year-old child, and the dog had been upstairs taking a nap when the fire started. The 2 men jumped into action right away, calling 911 and offering to catch the child. It was like, "I'm here. I'll catch her, drop her." Talk about trust. Talk about building a quick trust tree.
Trust.
She did finally get her in the position and caught her. Then she started shoving the dog out the window, slowed him down. He ran off, then jumped out the window, and we slowed her down, but couldn't catch her from the second-story window. The heroes say the whole ordeal lasted around 5 minutes before first responders showed up and took over in the scene. This is the nice part. This is just the part that you just go, what in the world? Because after that happened, and I'll say it. And when Paul saved my life, he was shook up.
Yes, I was.
And I don't know that this next sentence. I don't know how I would have been able to do it. But it said Higerman and Bishop proceeded to get back to work as if nothing
Whoa.
happened. So pretty cool stuff. So they saved two lives and a dog, or 3 lives total, but one was a dog from a burning building while doing their daily education maintenance work, and pretty awesome. Because sadly in today's day and age, lots of people see it and watch it, maybe video it, but don't jump into action to do it. So hats off to you two, and maybe we'll have to send them hats because I said hats off unintentionally.
Hats
Now that you
off.
did this hat thing,
That
and it's
thing's
all
going-
geez,
that
it's all
thing's
over
going
the
up.
place.
Lord.
Yeah. So, but no, this has been great. Great episode 10 to be in person with such awesome people. I was able to spend a half a day and be a fly on the wall and get to share a little bit of little knowledge that I have. But it's energizing to sit at this table and realize that your responsibility, as I shared with you, your responsibility is huge in where you go and what you do. And you just do magnificent work. So appreciate everything and appreciate the listeners and followers. That's going to do it for another episode. Like I say, 5 stars rating and reviews. We love it. That's how we get more exposure. That's how more people watch, listen. We'll send you some swag. I've got a couple that I'm backlogged on that David Young, who I brought up last week, he got a rating and review on a podcast platform I didn't even know we were on. So that was
Wow.
something really cool. So we're noticed everywhere. So shirts on the way, buddy. Appreciate that. And we'll look forward working on a couple of episodes for the next couple of weeks. Paul and I are going to actually hit the road this weekend, we're going to be making our way to beautiful Atlantic City to see some friends and do some talking down there. So we might have another live in-person episode or two next week. So stand by. And in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.